You know, if you've ever felt that twinge in your knee or maybe some stiffness in your fingers, you are definitely not alone. Joint pain is one of the most common things people deal with. But what's actually happening inside our bodies? Is it just simple wear and tear from a life well lived? Or is something else going on? Like your body's own defense system staging an attack from within? To really get it, we need to break it all down. So let's dive in.
All right, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by looking at what a perfectly healthy joint looks like. Then, we'll introduce the two heavyweights in the arthritis world, osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. We'll put them head-to-head in a showdown. Then we'll throw in a wild card called gout, and we'll wrap it all up with the most important things you need to remember.
First things first, let's set our baseline. We need to talk about the absolute marvel of engineering that is a healthy, working joint. I mean, before we can really understand what goes wrong, we have to appreciate what it looks like when everything is going right. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on what are called synovial joints. Just think of your knees, your hips, your fingers. Those are the ones. And these things aren't just simple hinges, not at all. They're these super complex biological systems that have a special space inside allowing for this incredible range of motion. And it's all wrapped up in a special lining that keeps it running smoothly.
Now this is where it gets really cool. You've got this whole team of key players inside. First up is the articular cartilage. Think of it like a Teflon-coated shock absorber, unbelievably smooth and resilient. Then you have the synovial fluid, which is basically the joint's motor oil, keeping everything lubricated. The synovial membrane is the factory that produces this fluid. But the real heroes? They're the chondrocytes. These are the tiny, specialized cells, like a little construction crew, that are constantly working to build and maintain that cartilage.
Okay, so now that we have this picture of a perfect, well-oiled joint, let's introduce our first problem, osteoarthritis. And this one is all about mechanical breakdown. So, here's the most important thing to get about osteoarthritis, or OA. Despite the itis in its name, it's not primarily an inflammatory disease. At its core, it's a disorder of the cartilage itself. You can think of it as a structural failure of that amazing low-friction surface we just talked about, usually caused by years and years of mechanical stress.
And this really shows you the whole downward spiral. It all starts with an injury to those little construction workers, the chondrocytes. In the early stages, they're working overtime, trying to repair the damage, but the degradation just starts to outpace them. And then, in late-stage OA, you're looking at a massive loss of the cartilage itself, to the point where you're left with bone grinding on bone.
So this mechanical failure leads to some pretty distinct symptoms. The pain gets worse when you actually use the joint, which makes total sense, right? You might even hear a grating or popping sound called crepitus, and the body, in an attempt to stabilize this now unstable joint, starts to create these little bone spurs, also known as osteophytes.
All right, let's shift gears completely and look at our second antagonist. This is a totally different story. Meet rheumatoid arthritis. This isn't a mechanical problem. This is an inside job. It's an autoimmune attack.
The key word here, the one that changes everything, is autoimmune. With rheumatoid arthritis, or RA, the body's own immune system gets confused. It messes up and mistakenly attacks the joint. But notice what its primary target is. It's not the cartilage, not at first. It attacks the synovial membrane, that inner lining we talked about. The cartilage destruction? That's actually collateral damage from the main assault.
And here is a massive, massive clue. About 80% of people with RA have something in their blood called rheumatoid factor. These are what we call autoantibodies. So basically, they're friendly fire antibodies that have turned against the body's own tissues. It's a key sign that the immune system has officially gone rogue. This slide shows you the chain reaction of that attack. It starts with T cells, a type of immune soldier, kicking the whole thing off. They release this storm of inflammatory signals, which in turn causes that synovial lining to swell up, grow uncontrollably, and morph into this destructive mass called a pannus. And it's this pannus that actively grows over and erodes the healthy cartilage.
Okay, so we've met our two main contenders. Now it's time for the main event. We're putting them head-to-head to make the differences absolutely crystal clear. This is the Arthritis Showdown. Seriously, if you remember only one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. OA is a mechanical problem. It's wear and tear on the cartilage. RA is an autoimmune problem where the body attacks its own joint lining. The starting points, the fundamental conflicts, are on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Now let's really dig into the details with this awesome comparison table. We've already covered the cause and the primary target, but look at the joint pattern. OA is often asymmetric, so maybe just your right knee is acting up. RA, on the other hand, is typically symmetric, affecting both knees or both wrists at the same time. And for symptoms, OA pain gets worse with activity, while RA is famous for that prolonged morning stiffness that can last for more than an hour. And the end result is different too. OA leads to bone spurs, but RA can actually cause the joints to fuse together completely.
Just when you thought you had it all figured out, let's throw a third character into this story. Because this one isn't about wear and tear, and it's not about a faulty immune system either. No, this one is about a physical intruder, crystals.
Right, gout is a whole different animal. It's caused by these sharp microscopic crystals of monosodium urate that literally crash the party inside your joint. These crystals are the direct trigger for these sudden, incredibly intense waves of inflammation.
And this is what they look like. I want you to imagine thousands of tiny sharp needles suddenly materializing inside your joint. When you see that, it's no wonder the pain of a gout attack is so famously, excruciatingly bad.
The attack itself is just swift and brutal. See, high levels of uric acid in the blood cause these crystals to form right in the joint. Your immune cells, called macrophages, they try to clean them up, but in doing so they get triggered and sound this massive biological alarm called the inflammasome. This unleashes an overwhelming inflammatory response, leading to that classic, sudden, agonizingly painful joint.
Whew. Okay, so we've looked at mechanical failure, we've looked at an autoimmune attack, and we've looked at a crystal invasion. Let's boil all of this down to the most essential things you need to know for understanding what's going on in your joints.
You know, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? Not all joint pain is the same. The source of the pain, that why, is completely different in each case, and that single fact dictates everything else, from symptoms all the way to treatment.
So here it is, the final breakdown in its simplest form. Osteoarthritis is mechanical, rheumatoid arthritis is autoimmune, and gout is metabolic. Three totally distinct pathways that all, unfortunately, end up in the same place, a painful joint. Knowing which path is being followed is absolutely critical.
And that really brings us to our final thought. We've gone over the what and the why, and understanding that difference is such a powerful first step. So the real question this leaves us with is this: what does this knowledge empower you to do next for your own joint health?